Can you give us an update on the squad? I know some players are still not here yet, but from the squad that's been named, are there any doubts?
There's a few that we're monitoring. Obviously, we're still waiting on a few, obviously, that played yesterday to meet up in the next couple of hours. We had a mixed group today. A few that did a smaller session, smaller numbers, and a few that were on another recovery day. But hopefully by the end of tonight, we get a better picture from the clubs, from the players coming in, of where everyone's at. Fitness-wise.
Sorry, Scott McKenna, one of them. He didn't play at the weekend.
Yeah, he's one that we're monitoring at the moment. We're still waiting on that decision. And again, once everyone's in on camp and we spoke to the clubs, then we'll have hopefully a bigger picture. Next 24 hours or so.
Given that you've got 3 days, well now less than 3 days before this game, and some of the players are not yet here, how challenging is it going to be to get your message across and get your first team, your preferred team, out on the park with everything that you want in terms of their mindset ahead of this game?
Hopefully we can do enough. Obviously, getting away from it, it's not ideal match preparation. I think that's been said in the past that obviously playing on a Sunday, then you're going into a 2-day recovery period, then your match day -1, then you've got the game. But we're more than confident that we can do enough in that time with both work on the grass, with the analysis work and video work that we're going to be doing over the next few days to get everyone up to speed. And it's a team that we know that we've obviously just played against. It's a team that we've been obviously analysing heavily since November with the work that we've been doing. So pretty confident that we can do enough, like I say, out on the grass and in our meetings to be fully prepared.
In terms of, you mentioned you've obviously met them last month. Did anything that you saw in that game last month make you and Steve and John think, actually, hang on, we maybe need to change our approach going into this game?
I think there's bits that we've analysed and looked at, things that we can do better, things that we did well. So we've obviously debriefing and analysing that performance. I think there's going to be a tiny part that may play a part going into the next game, but it's going to be a completely different game. It's a completely different scenario. I think everyone knows what's at stake going into the game on Thursday. So there'll be little bits and pieces that we might pick up on, strengths and weaknesses of what we can look for. But it could be two teams that are slightly different. It could be two teams that are changing shape. Who knows? So it's going to be a game on its own merits.
Do you see it's a different scenario? Do you feel that maybe last month was a bit of almost like a phony war? Or do you think that perhaps maybe from a Scottish perspective, you were almost feeling them out?
I think it was more the situation as well, the situation of where the players are at, fitness-wise. You've got players that have played season underway, you've got players that have played no games, you've got players that had trained for a couple of days. By this stage now, we're getting everyone up to speed for the game. A greater level of match fitness as well. So, hopefully it'll be a completely different situation. Hopefully a fully fit squad as best we can be. But yeah, I think it did feel a little bit like a strange camp with everything that's gone on with the pre-season, with the last few months. Hopefully by this time everyone's a little bit more up to speed and ready to go for the Israel and then the 2 Nations League games after.
How many actually trained for this evening? Was it 8?
I had a group of 8. Group of 8 trained today. Obviously a smaller group. Obviously we've got to be mindful of the recovery days, of keeping everyone fit and fresh for the 3 games. Because obviously we got the Israel game, but it's about then having another two squads and teams after that as well. So we've got to be mindful of that. We've got to liaise heavily with the sports science departments, medical departments, speak with the players. You can look at all the numbers and stats in the world, but often it can't beat actually asking a player how they're feeling. So yeah, it's a smaller group today, good little session, nice and bright as it always is, when we meet up. So bigger group you would have thought tomorrow, and then start to build it up before Thursday.
Yeah, it sounds like you're expecting the players to come in much better condition, having had games, having had training sessions with their clubs, and almost with a new mindset. Would that be right?
I think their mindset's always good. When they come and meet up, saw that again today. I think, being there and doing it myself as an international player, playing my club football, Premier League football, you kind of step straight into international mindset as soon as you leave your club and you meet up with your country. So, yeah, I don't think that's a problem. I think physically the last camp was tough, was demanding with the different levels of fitness that everyone was at, and you're trying to, alongside that, tailor your training sessions as well in how much each individual can do. So there's, the game's changed a little bit now. It's not a one-size-fits-all as it used to be. Everyone kind of just does the same session all the time. Sometimes now it's about those recovery days, and that's the challenge in a way. You get players playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday that need their recovery days at different periods. So it's about little top-ups when needed. Obviously, we had a couple of players that game was cancelled on Friday, so they done a little bit more today. So it's just managing all the different individual needs of the players.
We have Kenny McLean in just a few minutes ago, and he was saying that personally he thinks he's got a lot more to give, and he senses that the squad as a whole has a lot more to give as well. Is that your sense, that there's a lot more to come from the Scotland?
I think so. I think the pleasing thing is the habit that we've got at the minute of getting results as well. Not necessarily always playing, our best football, but still grinding out results. I think that's a habit that you've seen Wales and Northern Ireland doing in recent years. Is starting to get used to winning games and drawing games, whereas before they were defeats. And that's a useful habit to have, not always playing your best and getting those results. We're on a decent run at the minute, a little bit of momentum building, but obviously it needs to go into the game on Thursday and the two games after, try and carry that on into those games.
Neil Lennon said he's a bit concerned about all these players who are going on international duty. Have you had any requests from him or any other club managers about not playing players 3 games in a row? No,
there's been no dialogue around that situation. We've always got dialogue with the clubs, especially Graham Jones, head of performance, always got a dialogue with the medical departments and sports science at the clubs, seeing what the players are used to, the loads that they're used to training at, the recovery days, the protocols that they follow with their clubs, because you don't want to go too far away from that, obviously putting players at risk of injury. But we're going into one of the biggest games in the history of the country in recent years, that's for sure. So I think every club manager can appreciate certainly what certainly the Israel game means, but then the 2 games after that, we know just how important the Nations League games have become for us personally, with obviously where we're at with the playoff game ourselves against Israel.
Has there been any thoughts towards perhaps a game going to penalties?
Possibly, yeah. Possibly. It's a possibility that could happen, and I think we've got to prepare as such. I think we've got to do our what we need to do in case that is a scenario, but possibly.
Competition after training or something like that?
We'd be well prepared for all scenarios, that's for sure.
Stephen, there's a lot of discussion about the 3 at the back that was used last month. Has that been a big part of what you've been looking at in preparing for this game?
It certainly is. Obviously our debriefs and the analysis work from those 2 games, looking at what we can do better, which we can do a lot better, things that work well, things that can hurt our opponents. But again, we'll be working on different scenarios, different situations. Israel themselves have got a pretty steady way of playing. It's not changed too much in recent times. So, but you never know. If they have 1 or 2 injuries themselves or different situations, they might be forced into making a change. So, yeah, the analyst work has been done, and the analysing of formations and the debriefs and all of that. So, yeah, we'd be fully prepared and again, looking at all different situations and scenarios.
But there's really no margin for error this time, is there?
Definitely not. Can't beat around the bush. It's a huge game. It's everything to play for. It's a game that, for some, you just never know when the opportunity is going to appear again to go to a major tournament. I was lucky enough to do it as a player myself once. I thought I was going to do it every 2 years after that, but it never happened again, and it's still the highlight of my career. And it could be the same for the players. The opportunity after such a long time to really give the country something to be proud of, something to support, especially hopefully by that stage, looking beyond it. If we're in a place where things have changed slightly, it could be amazing.
Do you think that the back 3 worked? I mean, Steve was very positive about it, but there was a lot of scrutiny of it and the suggestion that it was square pegs into round holes. Do you think it worked?
So I can't get away from it being a draw and a win as well. I think there's stuff definitely that we can work on. It's obviously 2 games. There's more training sessions to come, more things to work on, whether it's as a back 3 or a back 4. But I don't think we can say it didn't work. We got a couple of results. We've now 5 games unbeaten with a nice bit of momentum going into these 3 games. But absolutely, there's stuff that we can, bits and pieces that we can pull apart from the game and do better. That's for sure. But that's why we're here. That's why we're going to do the analysis work. That's what the training pitch is there for as well, to work on little bits and pieces that we weren't as happy with.
We've been bemoaning the lack of quality centre halves in Scotland for a number of years, and you look at the games that took place yesterday in the Premier League, and the English champions had 7 knocked past them. Manchester United conceded 6. Do you think that there's a problem with the art of defending at the moment, generally?
I think obviously the game's changed. My last few, only going back, I retired 5 years ago, and I was to put it nicely, probably a stay-at-home right back. Whether I'd play now in the modern game in the Premier League football, it's very unlikely, because I didn't venture too far away from my right side centre back. I was always there. But now a lot of the time you're seeing you've got more athletic, quicker players that like to get forward. I think the game's changed, the formations have changed, the style of play is becoming a little bit more riskier with the playing out from the back. In your own box, it presents challenges, presents difficulties, and you're always going to be more vulnerable when you're going to do that, because if the opposition win it back, a lot of the time they're straight at a vulnerable, back 2 or a midfielder in front. So yeah, I think it's changed slightly. I think with the situation we're in, with no fans, I think for some will be a bit more freedom to express themselves. You're not getting that pressure of fans maybe getting on your back for staying in a game, for playing a little bit more pragmatic. I think now there's a lot of emphasis now on attacking play. Not got the pressure and the noise from the fans to say otherwise. I think that's what we're seeing. Definitely a little bit more freedom going forward, but incredible the amount of goals that are going in, that's for sure.
The irony is that Steve has built his success as a coach on a solid defence. We saw it at Kilmarnock, we saw it when he was at West Brom as well. A solid defensive structure.
Well, like I said,
Scotland
I didn't move from that.
Yeah.
But yeah, listen, I think that's the basis a lot of the time. It is, if you can keep the ball out the net at the end of the day. And by the way, a note to David Marshall's performance at the weekend as well, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. If you can do that at one end with the attacking threat that we've got, which is strong, you give yourselves a chance of getting a result.
You talk about that unbeaten run you're on. What do you think a win on Thursday would actually do for the team going forward?
I think it'd be massive. I think it's an extra confidence booster. I think the team at the moment's in mentally a good place with the way we're working, with the results that we're getting. But yeah, you can't get away from that result, and then you're one step away potentially from a major tournament. It can be the highlight of your career. It can be you can look back at it, and that be the defining moment in your career. It can change careers. It could be the greatest moment in your life. All these potential prospects from these 2 games coming up is, hopefully we don't underestimate what, for me to this day, it is the highlight in my career, one of the highlights of my life, and hopefully it can be the same for. And I actually think I might get just as much pleasure doing it as a coach as well, being involved in it and actually enjoying it, because the World Cup in 2002, I look back now and I think when you're in it sort of passes you by a little. I actually want to sample it again and be in the moment and actually enjoy these moments and be a real part of it, instead of you thinking that this is something that happens every couple of years. It doesn't. Sometimes these moments only come up once or twice in your career, and it's important to have no regrets going into it or after it.
Is that something you'll actively try and relay to the players over the next few days, having had that experience in your career? Just stress how big and how important this could be for them.
I think I've already mentioned one or two I've played in the World Cup already, so I've already discreetly sort of dropped it in once or twice that these moments don't come around too often. I'm sure that's something, and maybe a little theme of the messages that are going into the players, that just got to enjoy it. I've said many a time that these big moments I didn't enjoy enough, and I speak to so many players that are finished now that didn't enjoy these moments or take it in when you're actually in it. After the game, then it's on to the next game or whatever it might be. You've got to actually try and be present in it and leave nothing out there. Give everything. That's all that we can do.
You hear these sort of manager cliches all the time, and it's a big game, and some managers are like, "Oh, just treat it like any other game." Would you go against that and say that the players need to big this up and really need to know the importance of it going into it, rather than just have that mindset of, right, okay, it's just another match?
It needs to be controlled. Obviously, you can't let the day get the better. I've been involved in, you could argue, going back a couple of years when I was at Reading in the Championship playoff final, was a game of unbelievable magnitude. But it's not just a game, though. At the end of the day, this one, it's not. We got to almost treat it as such and make sure that there's no regrets. Everyone gives everything, which I'm sure they will, in the knowledge that there's going to be a country behind us, albeit virtually and watching on TV all around the world. They'll be watching. So look, it's a game to look forward to at the end of the day. You wish you can sort of rewind and be a part of these moments as a player again. I'm actually enjoying the build-up. Love today. These gaps that I get in between as a coach makes me enjoy it even more when I do meet up. It's such a long break up until the last camp. Another break now, and absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved this morning, the session. Hopefully, obviously, we get everyone fit and proper for Thursday. But yeah, I think we've probably bigged it up enough. Actually, it's quite an important. No, really looking forward to it, and I'm sure all the boys are as well. Obviously.
Stephen, when you think back to the squad of 2002 that you were involved in and look at the squad you've got now, do you sense with the individuals you've got at your disposal that that's a team that can play at a majors, and now it's time to prove it?
I think so. I think we're developing some real leaders as well. We've got some players that are playing a lot of regular football at the top level. If I look back at that, Republic squad, you kind of can compare in a way the ability levels and the type of players. I don't think it's any secret that a lot of Ireland's success, you could say, was the spirit in the group that sometimes can get you over the line in difficult moments, difficult games, alongside having 2 or 3 world-class talents in the team as well. But the spirit, the leadership and the determination in the group can sometimes get you that extra couple of % that can be the difference between qualifying or not qualifying and playing in these life-changing tournaments and moments.
Just a quick one on David Marshall. You mentioned his performance out at the weekend. He was great in the last 2 games, I think, as well.
Superb.
It's huge, isn't it, having a goalie that you're last line to defend?
Yeah, and again, shout to John as well, playing regularly at Rangers, doing fantastic. Obviously, the defensive record that they've had this season as well. Credit to him and Robbie, this coming in enthusiastic young keeper behind him. Keeps challenging the senior too. But yeah, at the minute, Marshy just seems to be getting better with age. We've had a couple of chats over the last sort of 18 months, and where he's at in his career, and he could go on. Well, on that form anyways, he looks in great shape, and obviously a great performance at the weekend. So, hopefully he continues that.